Hi, I'm an auditor with the company's external auditing team. I was told that you're on break right now, so if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you a couple of questions.
Yeah, it's great. They told me you might be by.
Well, first, I'd just like to start off by understanding exactly what you do.
Okay, as machine operator, basically I take the raw materials that are brought to me in the morning, empty them one bag at a time into the machine. The machine will then automatically sort the spheres by size. Then I cure the ones that are too large. Then I will manually separate the green spheres from the gold spheres. The green go into a non-spec bin, and the gold go into the hallucination process. At the end of the process, I bag up the final. The spheres, the gold spheres, go 10 to a bag, and the green 20 to a bag.
For the bagging process, do you do the counting of the spheres yourself?
Oh yeah, it's a manual process.
So I now understand that you physically count the spheres, but do you compare it to the counters on the machine?
No, I really don't do that. I don't have time to do all that.
Can you better explain for me the hallucination process of the machine operations?
Sure. The hallucination process is basically a micro sandblasting process to take that sphere to the exact specifications that it needs to be.
Can the counter on the hallucination process distinguish the color of the sphere?
No.
Okay, who picks up the gold and green spheres after they are bagged?
Shipping. They come through periodically throughout the day and just take whatever final products are bagged up.
You mentioned just a moment ago the curing process. How does that process work?
Curing is basically a compression of the sphere, so the larger size spheres are just compressed down to the right spec size.
And who reconciles the materials that get cured?
That's not anything I do. Management may do something with those numbers.
What do you do with the finished product?
I bag them up. I bag up the gold spheres 10 to a bag and the green spheres 20 to a bag.
It's my understanding that the green spheres are not as profitable as the gold spheres. Why are the green spheres purchased in the first place?
It's just the only way we can get raw materials. They come in the raw materials.
Speaking of raw materials, do you sign off and count the materials when they are brought to you from receiving?
No, I don't have time. When they bring them from receiving, they count them there at my machine.
What's the typical mix of spheres in the bags you pour in at the beginning?
Oh, most of the spheres are going to be green. There will be usually less than 10 that are gold. Occasionally you'll get a really good bag with maybe more. And there's even an orange one that will sneak in every now and then, but it's just scrap.
How many spheres get put in at a time?
One bag, which can be approximately 100 spheres to a bag.
And why not just pick out the green spheres when you're loading the machine?
Well, I don't really have time. It's just easier to put the entire bag of raw materials into the machine. Plus, the ones that are the larger size need to be cured anyway, so the machine will automatically send those to curing.
Have you ever found a gold sphere in the non-spec box or green spheres in the final output bin?
It'll happen occasionally. It's not a big deal.
And what do you do when that happens?
Just take it out of the final output bin and throw it in the bin it should be in. If it's a green one that went into the gold bin, I'll just throw it in the non-spec bin at the end.
Are you penalized when there are green spheres in the final bin?
No, nobody knows. It's not a big deal.
And if you put a green sphere through hallucination, do you adjust the count?
No.
Okay. Do you have access to the holding box or the holding bin of gold spheres?
Sure, I have to be able to reach in and get them.
So could you take a gold sphere from the end of the process and put it back through?
I guess you could. I don't know why you would. Waste time.
How hard would it be to sneak out with the gold sphere?
I don't see how anybody could do that. Security's pretty tight around here.
During my observation of the machine process, I noticed a trap door on the machine. What is the trap door used for?
You know, I never use it. I don't really know what it's there for.
Do any spheres ever fall out of the bag onto the floor?
It'll happen occasionally, but again, not a big deal. Just pick it up and put it back through the process.
Do you ever put one in your pocket?
Of course not.
Who has access to the production floor?
Well, of course, the machine operators and our supervisors. Receiving and shipping are coming and going. There's maintenance, housekeeping.
And is there any way to sneak spheres out of the plant?
No, security is just too good. They're right there where you clock out. All of our personal belongings are left in our lockers up around the security area. There's no pockets in our aprons. I just don't see how you could do it.
Have you ever known of one sneaking out?
There was a rumor of a guy that tried to sneak out with one a while back and got fired, but that was before I got here, so I don't know.
Do you keep any logs?
I do keep a log. It stays on my machine, and I note the number of spheres that I've cured each day, and also the number of spheres that have gone through hallucination each day.
So how reliable are the counters, and who sees the log?
Well, the log is picked up by my supervisor, Ben, every evening. The laser counters are very reliable. They get recalibrated every night and set back to 0 for me. There is a manual clicker that's on the machine that is broken. It's been broken for a while. I've reported it. Nothing's gotten done.
And what happens to the final counter numbers?
They're picked up by my supervisor. I'm not sure exactly what he does with them, but I just note them on my log.
What do you do if you don't finish a bag?
Sometimes it's the end of the shift and I'm not going to complete a bag, so I may start half of the bag, process it out, leave the other half sitting there, and I'll finish it in the morning.
And how do you get paid?
I get paid by the number of spheres that go through hallucination. That means only those spheres that pass through the laser counter.
What's the deal with the orange spheres, and what do you do when you find one?
Orange spheres are just scrap. They come occasionally in our bags of raw materials. When one comes through, I just toss it.
And how much waste is in the process?
Well, if you're talking about waste as far as in the hallucination process, there's just a small amount of sandblasting dust. As far as the green spheres versus the gold spheres, most of the bag is going to be green spheres, and less than 10 are generally the gold spheres, which is what we're after, of course.
What's the machine maintenance routine?
Every night, maintenance comes in. They clean out the hallucination area, and they reset and recalibrate the laser counters for me.
And what about inventory and physicals? Does anybody perform them?
I think there's an outside company that comes in annually and does something with that, maybe in shipping. I'm not real sure.
And what do you know about the code of conduct?
That sounds like something I probably saw when I got hired. Don't really remember much about it.
Are there any updates to the code that you know of?
Nothing lately that I've heard about. There may have been something in the newsletter.
Tell me about the newsletter.
There's one in the lounge, and they email them out if you have email access, which I don't, but I generally don't have time to look at that.
Do you know about the ethics hotline?
I do. It's there if we need it. It's posted in the lounge. Of course, I wouldn't use it if I had a problem. I'd just call my brother.
Who's your brother?
Chris Reddy, the CEO of the company.
How does Alchemy avoid fraud?
Well, again, security is very tight. There's security guards when we clock in and clock out. There's swipe cards to get on the floor. No pockets in our aprons. Our personal belongings are left in clear bags in our lockers back in the security area.
Have you ever been asked to change any count or do anything that makes you feel uncomfortable regarding the counts?
Oh, no, of course not. Chris would kill me.
And what happens if you're out of work due to illness or vacation?
There's a couple of guys down in shipping that are trained. They can come and work on the machines if someone's out.
Have you had a medical exam or an eyesight exam lately?
We do. We have one annually. Just had one not too long ago.
So, do you know why some of your medical records are missing?
No, I have no idea.
What is your eyesight?
It's great, 20/20.
And are you colorblind?
I am colorblind, but it's not a problem for me. I can see shades really well.
What is your relationship with Joe Bozo?
Joe is Ben's boss. I hardly see the guy.
Well, thank you for your time.
You're welcome.